the truth of the matter is, Wendy, we haven't been trained in this stuff as pediatricians, right? We're trained to take care of kids. We're trained to focus on that. This is kind of this evolution of like really understanding how important parents and their parents' well-being is. And also just the level of stress. You both brought up how much stress we're getting hit with right now with COVID, and parents are just, the stress they're hit with. So whether it's just the COVID piece or if it's COVID with the ACEs, we just haven't been trained. And so that was the reason Wendy and I wanted to talk about parent self-care as an anticipatory guidance, because it's not sort of the usual way of doing it. And so it's, again, if you say, oh, I really didn't think about it, or I don't have these tools, it's because we really haven't been trained in them. And so that's why we wanted to bring them to you today and kind of just talk about. And to be honest with you, one of the things is really interesting is sometimes when you get to one of these things, it changes everything. Like all of a sudden the way the parent interacts with you is different, but most importantly, the way they interact with their child is different. So, again, it's that piece. We want them to have enjoyable moments with their kids. We want them to have a sense of, of competency and all that. So, just it's true for us too. We haven't been trained in some of this stuff. So it's just like, what other tools can we put in our toolbox that makes it easy? We know when the parents feel that we care for them, how much of a difference it makes. And sometimes, we're one of the few people in their lives that is there, and it's non-judgmental and is supportive. So the role that you have, even in those brief interactions, can be so helpful to families. So I think it's kind of a new way to think about things for us as a field.
Yeah. And the self-care tools like that ACEs Aware has, pediatric self-care tools, it always includes a little piece about the caregiver self-care. And you can use combinations, but I think, opening the door towards once you really see the parent, then they're much more likely to say, oh yeah, and I'm really stressed about that eviction potential, and can I have resources on that? Or some of the other things that we know or are more directly related to health and well-being of children in the moment, but all of this is directly related to health and development and well-being of children for the future and prevention of mental health. So, we were thinking about, well, what works well? How do you know when a parent is doing good self-care? What do you see? And the theme that just kept coming up was kind of that enjoyment of their child, being able to look and be curious. And, we think about trauma-informed care as what happened to you. Well, parents, if they're in the middle of being dysregulated and traumatized, cannot look at their child and say, I wonder what happened to you to make my toddler have a major meltdown. So the outcomes we expect to see when parents really are engaged in proper self-care is that they will be able to slow down, use all of those tools to do the behavioral modifications, like get rid of the bottle or enforce appropriate sleep times and all of those things that as pediatricians, we're really comfortable about talking about. But parents can't do that unless they really are regulated, have access to their executive function, have confidence, and are in relationships that will support when things aren't going well or they're making mistakes. So some concrete things that, I already mentioned a couple of ones that I use. Of course, we then have our potential referrals, but a lot of us in this community are not going to have easy access. And even when we do, will parents take that up? And a lot of the same kind of ideas of, I don't have time for self-care. I certainly don't have time to go to the doctor or engage in therapy is a big hurdle.